Welcome to Tenacity with Sonia C., the podcast where entrepreneurs, founders, and ambitious professionals come to learn from those who have walked the path, navigating challenges and achieving success. Whether it's thriving in business, pivoting, scaling for growth, fundraising, or finding work-life balance, dealing with loneliness, adversity, or overcoming personal struggles. Our guests share the insights and strategies that have empowered them to level up. I'm your host, Sonia, and let's get started. My guest today is Greg Williams. Greg is a seasoned VP of strategy with over 15 years of experience in tech and software space. He's known for simplifying complex technical concepts and turning them into actionable strategies that drive rapid and sustainable growth. Greg has played a pivotal role in scaling businesses from startups to industry leaders, and today he's here to share his insights on how companies can turbocharge their growth and sales with innovative strategies. Hi, Greg. How are you today?
Great. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here today. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome. I'm excited to have you. Okay, let's go right into it. So for those who may not be familiar with you, could you start by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Greg Williams. I'm based in Michigan. I've lived here pretty much my whole life, except for I spent 5 years out in California, and then moved back. I have spent my whole career in the software business, mainly in ERP/accounting and CRM software, enterprise software, but for small businesses.
Mhm.
And I've been at the same company now for 15 years, had a number of different roles with them, project manager, consultant, management, etc.
Awesome. We're both in the software development space, so I love it. From your extensive experience, what do you believe are the key elements that differentiate successful online businesses from those that struggle to gain traction in today's market?
Well, you know what? Everything starts with sales,
Hmm.
obviously, and getting enough sales in. Um, in the old days, sales used to be based upon more, direct outreach and pounding the pavement and finding people. And I think over the last several years, the business world has shifted to more of an inbound approach. And what we've learned it's important to have a lot of original content so you can drive inbound leads.
What about like for early growth strategies? What proactive strategies do you recommend for startups to implement early on? That's setting them up for sustainable growth in long term.
Um, I'll picking up on the sales and marketing and kind of demand generation because I always say nothing happens till something gets sold.
Hmm.
I would say that you want to start off with some type of content, whether it's a blog, whether it's some popular YouTube videos. I've seen companies that have gone viral to hundreds of millions of dollars based on one viral YouTube video.
Hmm.
I had a customer like that a few years ago.
Right. But like guerrilla marketing is dead, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Everything is about social media now or Google Ads or SEO, and everyone's basically fighting for the same space, which is social media. You do the basic SEO, but what can a company like really do? There's all the things of like being authentic and creating content and things like that. But for startups that are starting out, have limited budget for marketing or for PR, what are some of the things that they can do that are realistic for them?
Um, I think, I mean, I will double down on having some original content, whether it's a blog or some YouTube videos or things like that, that's authentic kind of homemade content. I think that's always good. And then I think partnerships are good. They can cut into your margins, but they can get you started.
Okay.
So find other companies in your industry that you can partner with. That's always great. Some companies regret those partnerships a few years in, but
Yeah.
they often get them started.
Okay. That's actually good advice. So, how can a company who doesn't know anything about partnerships sort of get going down that path?
Well, I think you have to network your way in your industry to finding companies that you don't necessarily compete with, but maybe could collaborate with, or that have a complementary product, and
Mm,
figure out a way to collaborate with them somehow. I mean, you see this now in the fashion industry all the time, right? You see an upstart brand partnering with Nike. You see Nike partnering with Tiffany. You see
yeah.
Gucci partnering with Adidas. You see all these collabs now, and
Hmm.
that's very popular. But I think that could be if you have a compelling product, trying to get the attention of another brand in the industry could be something that would really get you launched.
Okay. Could you share a specific example of a company you've worked with that experienced rapid growth through innovative online strategies, and what were the critical factors that drove that success?
Yeah, so I'm not going to share names, but I had a company that had a very popular cell phone accessory,
Okay.
and it helped you take selfies,
Oh, okay.
and they went from 0 to 100 million in 2 years, and then went way up from there. And it was all because of one viral YouTube video. It went viral, everybody saw it, and everybody had to have it, and then it just spread like wildfire. So that we've all seen brands like that over the years that have exploded.
Yeah.
And usually there's a little bit or a lot of luck involved. Um, but that was one example where we saw growth that, they just couldn't even keep up with. They were outgrowing their QuickBooks system within months, not years.
Yeah. So your example is a B2C, so business selling to a consumer. I find
Right.
social media is usually a lot better for when you're selling a product to a consumer. What about B2B, business to business?
Business to business, I think is different because you really need to depend on those partnerships. Because in B2B sales, companies want trust. There's a
Yeah.
lot more risk involved in a B2B sale from the buyer standpoint. There's typically a bigger investment. There's a longer relationship.
Hmm.
So you need someone to vouch for you. And you can get that through some type of collaboration. Um, it's different from a consumer product where a consumer is just going to spend $20 on something and may or may not care if it works or not.
So on the B2B space, the marketing strategy changes completely. When we first started talking, you were saying you're focusing a lot about creating content, social media content. What about B2B in the same context?
I think content can still be very valuable in the B2B space because one thing we know is that consumer behaviors over time will trickle into business to business behaviors. That
Okay.
always happens. So, 15 years ago, no one in the B2B space cared about reviews on websites,
Right.
and now they want to see those. So that happens. They didn't want, apps for their ERP system, and now we have an app catalog, just like you have in an iPhone app store. So that behavior does trickle down into business to business sales over time. And you'll see that. But the main focus for a business is to have some type of collaboration that gives you or partnership that gives you credibility.
Hmm.
And then on top of that, it's then building content that's compelling for the buyer. So you really have you have an extra angle to attack it from. You have to have the credibility angle, and then you got to have the sales angle.
What happens to someone that's just starting out? They're in the B2B space, they're just starting out, they're not an Oracle or a Microsoft, and they still don't have that credibility. How can they go about building it?
My opinion is the best thing to do is partner with one of those companies. Build an app that
One of
works.
the big players.
Yeah, yep, or even a smaller one. I mean, there's other software companies out there that have big customer bases,
Hmm.
but find a way to integrate with them or plug into their partner programs, and then you get that credibility and access to their customers.
Right.
So I have a lot of small software developers contacting me, and they want to sell to our customer base, and they're looking for our blessing because they know that if we vouch for it, that our customers will then trust them. So
Mm.
then we do the vetting to make sure that they're, have solid financial backing and that they're not just going to go away and that they have good support in place and that type of thing. And then if that's in place and it's compelling product, then we'll introduce it to our customers.
How long does it usually take you to make a decision on who to partner with based on the criteria you just mentioned?
Usually about a month.
A month?
Yes, sometimes longer if they're in startup mode.
Hmm.
I might tell them, hey, you need to go back and do some more work, or come back to me after you have a few customers, and then we'll talk. Or if they're based in another country, I'll say, when you have some presence in the US and have a few employees here, then let me know.
Hmm.
And then we'll talk again about introducing you to our customer base.
Okay, that's good to know. So what can you walk me through some of the types of companies you will partner with?
Sure. So we're in the ERP and CRM space. So the types of companies we partner with are companies that provide complementary solutions. It could be credit card processing. It could be sales tax compliance. It could
Mhm.
be e-commerce, especially B2B e-commerce. It could be an industry specific solution, like maybe you have something for the food industry, or for equipment rental. We run into all these scenarios.
Mhm.
One of the main ERP applications we sell called Business Central, there's 5,000 apps in the catalog.
Oh wow.
So that third-party apps that you can choose from all over the world. And we curate a shorter number of those, maybe a couple hundred, that we will tell our customers, hey, these have been vetted. We know they have good support. We'll vouch for them. You can buy these with confidence. If you want to buy another one that we don't know about, it might be great, but we haven't vetted them yet.
Hey, I feel like this is like a really good route to go, especially if you're in the startup space, because if you can go through that process and get approved, you're basically jumping in with like a big player who's going to give you access to a whole client base.
Yes, that's true. Yep.
So I'm just wondering, why don't more startups look for strategies like this?
I don't know. I've often wondered that. I
Yeah.
especially see a lot of startups ignore the Microsoft space.
Mm, yeah.
They're very centered on like having Google Documents and being all open source. That was kind of how it used to be. And so they're because they're driven by software developers in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily always get the business user. So I often see companies that will they will start that way, and then once they learn a little bit more about the market and hire a salesperson, then they'll realize they have to get a little more business friendly and not be so techy.
Yeah. But it is it also partially like let's talk about a Microsoft, for example. Like as a small business owner, how do I know what Microsoft is looking for, what they want? Because like I feel like smaller startups or smaller companies, they just feel like they're not even at that level. When you hear the word Microsoft, oh, my tiny little business, they're not interested in me. Are there programs that Microsoft offers that these companies should have access to? Is Microsoft just sort of like waiting for people to come to them?
Yeah, they're waiting, but there's companies with one, two, three employees that are publishing applications that they're selling on Microsoft's App Source.
Mm,
They can, and there's a lot of them that are just one developer.
right.
Uh, but they have experience in the channel and they kind of know the industry already. So it can be kind of daunting for a small business just starting out that doesn't know Microsoft to kind of learn that ecosystem.
Yeah.
But it's a big ecosystem and it's worth it if you take the time.
So, what type of resource should a startup hire or have to get them, uh, getting started in that process? Like, should they hire a salesperson? Should it be a specialized role? Let's just say I have no idea how to even go down that path.
Yeah.
Can I hire to help me get those to all of that?
So you can hire a consultant to help you navigate the Microsoft Partner Program. It's so big, believe it or not, there's consultants that specialize in that.
Okay.
So you can get started with that. Or if you're ready to make the investment, you could hire a salesperson that has experience in that ecosystem. That's going to be a bigger investment upfront, but you could go either one of those routes.
So you kind of want someone, for example, if I wanted to partner with an Oracle or Microsoft, you want someone who sort of knows that ecosystem or even has the contacts within that ecosystem already that can get you a foot in the door to talk to the right person.
Exactly. Yep. Because they're going to get you in touch with the bigger partners like myself that can drive some sales for you. And they're also going to help you navigate the Microsoft system. Microsoft, unfortunately, you don't talk to people when you're small. You go through their systems and figure it out. So
Yeah.
that's why you probably need some help.
And it can be very daunting,
It is, yeah, it
right?
is.
Especially for like a three-man shop or, like two people, two owners, a developer. Like, how do you even navigate that entire ecosystem?
Right. That's why you probably hire a consultant to help you.
Yeah.
And they would do a great job of that. But you're right. I've run into companies that are even larger and they say, hey, we have I'm thinking of a company I met with that does a transportation management solution, like trucking software. And they're like, we've met with a lot of the ERP software companies integrated with them, but Microsoft's so big, we didn't even know where to start.
Right. I can totally relate to that. Like I'm having
Yeah,
a conversation with you and I'm like, man, like if I only knew someone at Microsoft,
right.
right, then I could introduce my solutions to them and maybe they would help me get, to the next step. Because sometimes it's not just about getting your foot out the door. Maybe you've already reached a certain, layer of sales and now you're looking for, you know, scalability. And that's the next step to help you scale.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and the Microsoft platform can really do that for you because they have the biggest partner program in the world, and a huge customer base.
And yeah, and it's global, right? So it's not just
Yeah,
US or Canada. They can give you access to potential clients all over the world.
yeah, it's global. They have more customers in ERP than anyone else in terms of sheer count.
Okay, so with your knack for simplifying complex technical concepts, how do you bridge the gap between cutting edge technical innovation and their practical applications for companies seeking to leverage new technologies for growth?
Yeah, so what I typically do is I try not to talk in technical terms about the software.
Mm,
I try to talk in business terms and the benefits that you're going to get from it. So I'll give you a quick example. Like you could have a, detailed machine learning algorithm that helps you analyze your inventory usage to help determine an inventory forecast for you.
hmm
And that's incredibly compelling to a lot of businesses. That's what's going to save them the most amount of money in any type of system implementation is anyone that has inventory, reducing their inventory and is huge.
hmm
So in a lot of cases, you will see people that want to demonstrate all the deep capabilities and really go deep into all the formulas and talk about the technology and the setups behind it. And instead, I want to talk about the business impact.
Right.
I want to talk about how, not the details of how it works, but how you might use it, how it's going to save time for your buyer, how it's going to surface the information to you. you know, I really want to show the finished product as much as possible and what the outcomes are, not focus on how it's made.
So obviously don't have your developer come with you to a sales meeting, right?
No, no.
Do you find that that's a common mistake that some companies make where they're just going in about how the software works and not how it solves a problem?
Yes, it is a common mistake. I've trained a lot of people over the years on how to do software demonstrations.
Mm,
And this is one of the mistakes I made when I first started out, and I've seen other ones do it too, is you go into the setup of the software and how it's architected,
mm,
and then you think that they can extrapolate how flexible it is from there and how it can do everything for them. Instead, all they see is boring, 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 tech, tech, tech.
right.
So it's more important to show the outcome and really focus on the ease of use because we're all busy. We want something easy to use
Hmm.
and we want it to make our lives easier. So it's very important to make sure that they understand that the application is easy to use and that it's going to work for them. And then the other really powerful thing is customer evidence.
Right.
Is what has it done for other customers?
What happens if, well, this would be a good question for you. What happens if someone is just starting out and they don't have any clients yet? Do you ever take on those types of vendors, or do you only take on vendors that actually have case studies and have worked with customers?
Right. So it depends. If it's a very compelling software and there's white space in the market
Mm,
and no one else is doing it, and then we'll take a chance, but they need to have good financial backing.
right.
We need to feel safe there. And then even then we still may take a chance on it, but we'll tell our customer, hey, these guys are new. There's a little bit of risk involved here, but what they have is really cool. So but for example, I use the example of a credit card processing software. We have, 4 or 5 different solutions that can do that. Someone new comes, probably not going to spend a lot of time with them.
Right, because it's probably going to do the same thing that the other ones
Right.
will
And we
do.
already have a proven vendor there.
Right. And you would consider it if they had something very unique
Yes.
that no one else had.
Yeah.
Okay. So as a VP of strategy, how do you foster a culture of innovation within the companies you work with? And how does it contribute to long-term success in the online marketplace?
So, a few things that we do. One is that we're constantly working to train all our teams, sales and our delivery team on the new technologies that are coming out and how they can be applied to our customer base specifically.
Mm,
So for example, this morning we did a whole meeting on Copilot and AI.
right.
And we had our technical demonstration people demonstrating it to us. And then our management and sales team and others asking questions of how it might work, how it's deployed, what are the things to watch for. We do that internally before we talk about it with customers.
Right.
And I think that's important. So we're all kind of on the same page as to what it can do and what it can't do. And obviously AI is a big topic now. It's going to be so disruptive that we're trying to get ahead of that.
Yeah.
Um, but that's an area where we will typically jump on things before our competitors and other companies in our channel do. In the accounting ERP software space, as you can imagine, a lot of the companies are very risk averse. You're
Hmm.
messing with people's financials. You got to be real careful. So a lot of them will be late adopters to technology.
Yes.
For example, I think ERP software was the last major software category to go to the cloud.
Yeah. I believe that.
Yeah. And when Microsoft launched our applications in the cloud 5 or 6 years ago, we jumped on it right away.
Ah,
We said, we're going to start selling this, even if it's not perfect. We're going to start implementing it. And what that did is it put us ahead of a lot of the rest of the channel who said, we're going to continue to sell on-premise software and give Microsoft 2 or 3 years to figure this out.
Yeah. I mean, I do find that a lot of the large companies, they're still a lot of them are still on enterprise, on-prem. Sometimes I have conversations with people and they're like, "What's ERP?" And I'm like, "Really? Like,
Yeah.
some of the biggest systems in the world." And I find that they're still very traditional. And I think it's just the cost of modernizing, right?
Yes. Yeah. Everybody loves the idea of being on a cloud SaaS application. And the subscription licensing fees are affordable. They
Mhm.
outsource the security to Microsoft. But the cost to get there is sometimes a blocker.
Yeah. Because then you also have to train your entire team. And when you're talking about companies that have over 1,000 employees, now you got to come. It's like starting from scratch. You have to train everybody on these new systems, and
Yes.
so it's a big undertaking for sure.
Yes, there's a lot of change management. And we incorporate organizational change management into our implementations.
Hmm.
And that's been a major factor of why some of our customers have been selecting us lately because we're offering that. Because we're able to help them navigate that change as they go, and we make the executives aware of what's going on and help them with managing that.
I love it. I mean, this was such an insightful conversation. I didn't think it was going to go the way it went because I had like all these other questions for you, but I find it super interesting once we got into the point of partnerships. And I love the idea. Like, I talk to startups all the time, and I have never had a conversation with a startup that was thinking about going down that route. And it sounds so easy, but the conversation is not really happening.
Yeah, I mean, think about it this way: you wouldn't, if you're going to build an aftermarket car accessory, you're going to advertise which cars it works with, right?
Yeah.
And ERP software is no different. And we're moving to a world where there's going to be just a few ERP software vendors that have cloud products. The market's consolidating. So I think it makes sense to partner with those companies.
Yeah, love it. Well, Craig, thank you so much for joining me today. This was so educational for me anyway, and I'm sure our
Okay.
audience is going to love it. Uh, any final thoughts that you want to leave us with?
Yeah, if you want to learn more about me or connect with me, you can look me up on LinkedIn, Greg Williams at Western Computer. And if you want to see we have a lot of self-serve content on our website, all about ERP and CRM. That's at westerncomputer.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Sonia. Bye-bye.
I want to give a huge thank you to Craig for joining us today and sharing his expertise, from identifying scalable solutions to fostering a culture of innovation. We've learned much about driving sustainable growth and standing out in today's competitive online marketplace. And that's a wrap. To our listeners, thank you for joining me on this journey of learning, growth, and inspiration. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite platform and connect with our community on social media. I'd love to hear your feedback, so leave a review and let me know what topics you'd want to explore in future episodes. Remember, the future belongs to those who embrace challenges, adapt with tenacity, and keep pushing forward. Keep growing, keep pivoting, and most importantly, stay tenacious in your pursuits. Thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to bringing you more insightful conversations in our upcoming episodes. This is Sonia signing off, but as always, keep chasing your dreams with tenacity.